But for me, as being a Christian, I needed that moment of stillness. I needed to reconnect with God. I needed to learn how to breathe, how to, do the 3-part breathing exercise for my diaphragm. Like I didn't even know that I wasn't using that. So that's how I got into it. And it started to allow me to see things for what they really were. Friendships started to kind of weed themselves out, and I was able to make space for new people. It really transformed my life. So that's how I got into meditation, launched a business and all of that. But my life had to fall apart before I could get it back together. So it's really about surrender, but that's how I got into meditation.
Hey, it's Logan Renee of the Soulkation Podcast, the home of all things soul care, a place where we heal, we grow, and we laugh, all while you're building your 6-figure business or CEO career. And now for your Soulkation announcements, we have a live class that we're super excited about for this month. And we're going to be talking about building consistent income, whether it's in your business or real estate or investments. We're going to talk about the truth and the lies around money. We're going to talk about building assets. We're going to talk about having a wealth mindset, the tools that millionaires use, life insurance, real estate 101, investing mistakes, and actual first steps where you can start to not only save money. We're going to talk about tithing and how that's always a return. We're going to cover it all. So you want to make sure that you're there Thursday, May 27th. Where can you find this information? Make sure you're a part of the Soulkation Tribe Facebook group. We give all the details there. Also, make sure you mark your calendars for the 2021 Soulkation Retreat. I just want to be the real me. We're going to talk about releasing self-doubt, unpacking brokenness, loving the woman that you truly are, forgiving the woman that you were, having a mindset that's set to be a CEO, that's set to be a leader, that's set to be a woman that runs a podcast, that's set to be a woman that has a New York Times bestseller. Who is that woman under the title? That's where we're going to cover. So we'll see you Saturday, August 28th. All of the details are in the show notes as well as on loganrenee.com. We'll see you there.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Soulkation Podcast. I am your host. I have Marlene with me. You might remember her from the Soulkation Life class, honey. She's about to drop some jewels on us, so I hope you all are excited and you have your notebooks, okay? Can you introduce yourself to the tribe again?
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me back, Tribe. My name is Marlene Holmes. I go by Marley, and I'm just super excited to be here. My main focus in what I do is as a social worker, as a Black woman, I try to empower and find spaces, support, to educate, to share my story, to do that through my company, the BFCA Expertience, where I do a lot of work with athletes, whether it's men, women, but my specialty is Black female athletes, currently on this doctorate journey to, try to get those letters, the doctor, to get that. But really my passion is understanding my abilities to serve others, embracing that, and the importance of giving back. And so that's where I am in my journey. And so I'm just super excited to be here and, chat it up a little bit.
I'm excited too. For those who are going through a master's program and a doctoral program during a pandemic, what advice would you give them?
Let me be honest. It is hard. It is hard. So for my master's program, I'm a social worker. So for my master's program, I didn't have to do a thesis. I didn't have to do all of that, right? I just normal school, graduate. But there's a lot of programs now that really have the same stressors that I'm finding that a doctorate program has. Yeah. So I would say the first thing is to have a community. I'm not necessarily friends with my cohort, like I have my mission, I have my focus. I'm not about making fake friends, just being honest. So, we can be cordial in the classroom, but if we really don't have anything to talk about after, that doesn't work. So the biggest thing is don't force friendships, right? But find your community, find your space. So I have people that live all across the country, but we are doing similar research. So whether we're connecting on social media, we're actually starting like a writing group on Zoom where we literally just log in and write and chime in if we need help. So the biggest thing is community. The biggest thing is rest. I don't think I've ever been this busy. I was traveling prior to the pandemic, probably twice a month. So it was busy, but it's a different type of pace, right? Like literally my thumb is sore from texting, from emailing, from my phone, because I'm always on it. So rest, self-care. I'm a big advocate with meditating, and just taking care of yourself. Child, I bought some stuff to do my own pedicure because I haven't worked up that, that energy to go back in these people's shops, So, just finding a space for yourself. But I think tribe and community is important. I've struggled with that. But now that I've found amazing Black women, older and younger, it's made a huge difference. So I say, find your tribe and just plug in, and don't be afraid to reach out when times get tough.
That's really good, Marlene. That's really good. Let's talk about meditating for those who want to get into that practice. Because some people make it, especially if you're like a Christian, believe in Jesus, they're like, that's woo-woo, scary stuff. It's, like, people run out. But it's a practice of being still.
Yes.
So what is your practice? How did you start if somebody wants to get into it? And what has made you continue?
I love telling this story. So I'm a Christian, and I was exactly that. Meditation, who I'm talking to, what statue, what position means this, who am I calling on? Not for me. We're not going to do that today, right? I'm not Tina Turner, brain gay KO. That's not what we're going to do, right? And so that was completely nothing that I had ever thought of. That's just, I don't even watch Harry Potter. No shades in Harry Potter fans, but that's how I was raised. Like I got to watch Hocus Pocus growing up. And then when I started singing the song, I was like, oh, turn that off. You're going too far. So that was my journey. Yeah. So, but the way that I got into meditation, unfortunately, for a lot of Black women that I've met, it's a common story. So I got to the point in my career, I worked in healthcare for about 10 years where I was, the entry level, then worked up to administrative, then worked up to regional. So it was a lot of stress, medical, mental health, substance abuse, right? And I was on call. So that meant 24/7, I was available, whether it was coming into the job, answering a phone call for anything. A patient broke the window, a patient died, someone needed CPR, like something, right? The alarm system went off and we don't know why. Whatever it was, I had to be available. So the only time I wasn't on call when I was out of the country, literally. So after doing that for so long, God had literally been telling me, you need to leave. You need to leave. You need to trust me. But I was in that mindset, well, I can't leave. I don't have another job. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? It makes sense. But basically, long story short, my health literally started to fail. I was in my mid-20s at the time, on high blood pressure medication. And within 2 months, she had to increase the dose. I started passing out at work, passing out at flea markets. Like I was literally dying. Like I was struggling. And no other medical, just random, not eating, not sleeping, not taking care of myself. And so one day when I went to the doctor, she said, if you don't quit this job, you're going to have a heart attack, period. She said, I'm not increasing your medication. It's all stress related. So after I heard that, prayed on it. And I literally woke up the next day and said, I'm going to put my 2 weeks in. And so I panicked, of course. I'm driving from Orlando to South Florida. Girl, it's 5:00 in the morning to be somewhere for a 7:30 interview and still trying to make it work. But I had to surrender. And that was the first time in my life where I learned what that meant, right? I understood when I was in church as a kid, these people were doing these testimonies and praying. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm at that point. And there have been many things up to that. So it was 10 years of ignoring, of circles, of spiraling, of thinking I'm recovering, but really I'm suppressing. And so I left the job. Can't eat, girl. It was a lot. I literally packed up.
I went to sleep. Wake me back up. Revive me.
Come back, friend. Come back. Let me give you some compressions. Come back. Listen, literally packed up, got rid of everything and said, I'm going back to South Florida. I've been considering my doctorate, said I'm going to apply for this school and hope I get in. That's literally what I did. Came down, long story short, got a job in education, which is my passion, as a regional director. So I was doing that and I started to work with kids K through 12 and their parents. And in that, I was seeing myself in these young kids. I was seeing family dynamics in the parents. And I was like, what's going on? So prayer. Long story short, I came across, I'm gonna say his name, not necessarily following him, and you'll understand why in a second. Russell Simmons. I don't know the whole story, but you know what I'm saying. So meditation, right? And so I said, let me look. It just sparked an interest. So I looked into it and I said, I think this isn't what I think it is. So I went back and got a certification to understand meditation. And in that path, you become a certified meditation instructor. And so from that, I started to practice. And I really realized it can be what you want it to be. We can be real and talk about the roots and the history of it. But for me, as being a Christian, I needed that moment of stillness. I needed to reconnect with God. I needed to learn how to breathe, how to, do the 3-part breathing exercise for my diaphragm. Like I didn't even know that I wasn't using that. So that's how I got into it. And it started to allow me to see things for what they really were. Friendships started to kind of weed themselves out, and I was able to make space for new people. It really transformed my life. So that's how I got into meditation, launched a business and all of that. But my life had to fall apart before I could get it back together. So it's really about surrender, but that's how I got into meditation.
You said so many things. I'm like, we'll be here all day.
Listen, I was like, I need to shorten this up. But yeah, that's it.
That was good. So if somebody wants to start the meditation practice, and they're like, I can't do 20 minutes, I can't do 45 minutes. What would you suggest? 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute?
So my biggest thing is the first thing in the morning. So I am an expert. I already have a PhD at last minute, right? I'm the type of person to say, do I really need to put makeup on a day to get extra 10, 15, 20 minutes sleep? That's me, right? But when you start to realize what you need in yourself, you will make that time. So I will sacrifice makeup or doing something so I can at least get 5 minutes in. Meditation is what you make it. You can lay in your bed and breathe. You know what I'm saying? You can get out of bed, lay on the floor, pull out a yoga mat, start with just a minute. Just start with 60 seconds of silence wherever you are. People have kids. It is tough. There's somewhere. I know it's hard because I have friends and I didn't understand it till I was like, ooh, I really see that your day is packed, honey. But you have a minute. Everybody has a minute. So start with the minute. And then once you see that, you'll start to add 1 minute, 2 minutes. For some people, meditation is reading. For some people, it is breathing. For some people, it's actually practicing yoga because meditation falls under the yoga branch. But if you get into the physical activity, that could be your moment of solitude as well. So I say start with the minute. And I'm a big advocate of first thing in the morning. And I do believe at least doing some breathing exercises at night. You can easily go on YouTube, find some relaxing music that's not any chanting, just ocean waves and some relaxing stuff. But a big part when I have my students is breathing. Let's just work on breathing. You will find how many thoughts go through your head, how easily you're distracted. And then if you're working with someone or using guided meditation sessions, which you can also find on YouTube, it will take you through it step by step, right? I think a big thing why people don't think they can do meditation is because of the thought process. People think that you have to stop the thoughts, and that's not what it's about. You're allowed to recognize the thoughts and realize that you control that, right? That you can see this and hear this and feel this and still navigate and redirect yourself. And so that's where the self-empowerment comes from. That's where the strength comes from. That's where your patience comes from. And I had to learn all of that. And so that's a big piece. And I can tell you when I fall off track, because I'm not perfect, when I fall off, things fall apart, right? I'm not sleeping well. My eating falls off. I'm not motivated to exercise. I need to go out for a walk because we are in a pandemic. It is so hard sometimes just to get out of the house. But when you do it, you're so happy you did. So start with the breathing. Give yourself a pat on the back for that and keep moving forward. And if you need help, you can just hit me up. I got you.
The link will be in the show notes, everyone. Yeah. So I'll do 3-minute meditations and I'll do 1 minute visualizations. And I go on YouTube, but I just look up meditation music, non-guided. Yep. Yeah. And if want guided, I'll do Deepak Chopra's, meditation.
Yeah. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Like I said, for me, as a Christian, it was hard because I didn't understand. But when I did the education, I realized this is really what I want it to be, right? So you do have to be intentional. And so when I would have my clients and I would go to their homes and practice with them, I was very aware of that they may have someone else that they are praying to or that they believe in. So as long as they were comfortable and understood who I was and I could respect who they were, we were fine because it's who you are in that moment. I'm just supporting you on your journey.
Exactly. That's good. Okay, so let's pivot, child.
Skirt.
As Black women, as women in general, that I've met, counseled, coached, well, not counseled, but coached. Why do we downplay ourselves because you're single, I'm single.
Yeah.
We're not married. We downplay ourselves a lot in relationships, especially with meeting guys. This is what I don't do. I do not tell them my Instagram. Every time I have, they either just disappear.
Honey.
They get, I don't know what happened. I'm a down blank chick. Like, I'm just
right.
Like, this is what I do. This is what I'm called to do. But there's so many I have so many commas behind my name. It's not just this thing. But when guys see that, baby,
run.
Deuces.
Gone. Listen, it is a real thing. And I'm having a lot of conversations with my peers. So I'm probably and I'm looking at a few of my circles, right? Usually I'm the only one with no kids. For the most part, I'm the only one with no kids. And some are married, some are not, some are in long-term relationships. And so we've been having a lot of conversations because I am getting to a point where I'm like, is this a tangible thing? Like, should I still be excited and motivated, keep my eyes open? Because what you're saying is so true. And so I will say, when I started out in the field, right, as entry level, just like everybody else, didn't really have a problem, right? You could decline that date, accept that date. And I was like, okay, this is nice, whatever. But then I noticed as I moved up in rank, and you would have these conversations going these days, and people are like, well, what do you do? And I first was so scared. Like, it was like an internal, I was uneasy to say what I actually did because I knew what they did. And so I think here are these conversations, you don't want to emasculate men. You want to allow them to be in control and all this stuff. And so not really knowing how to navigate or ever being prepared for that, it was a new space for me in this position. So for years, I would downplay what I did. So when I was a director, I would say I was a social worker, right? So it's just like, oh, so you take people's kids, you do therapy, work at the hospital, because I had to somehow come up with a story on why I had 2 phones and why I had to answer them all the time and all this stuff, right? So it got to a point I was like, I'm not okay with that. Like, it became an issue. But what I noticed quickly was when I would say what I did, because I've worked hard for this. And I believe that I can have a conversation with someone and still allow them to share their story. And so I was finding that if people were not in manager positions or they only had their bachelor's, which is great. There's plenty of people that don't have high school degrees that are doing super well, right? Mm-hmm. But it has not worked for me. Yeah. So when people find out what I do, I've literally been on phone calls with men that will say, what do you do? Sometimes it's a lot of times when I travel and meet people, like at these conferences that I go to prior to the pandemic, like, yeah, I saw that, social media, that you have this and you're doing this. And so tell me a little about that. And they seem engaged. They seem like, that's so cool. That's awesome. Conversation ends. Okay, I'm gonna give you a call back tomorrow. I'll check in. And you never hear from them. And I'm just like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And so for me, I was like, okay, maybe someone told me, well, maybe you need to make sure they're on your level. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Maybe you need to date people that have a master's or pursuing their doctorates, or they are definitely in those positions. And I'm like, well, I don't go around with a sign saying, tell me your resume, right? What year did you graduate? Like, how are you supposed to do that? So I'm like, it doesn't work like that. Just because it worked out for you. So I'll say I start to, meet and encounter people in these spaces, and it's the same thing. We can literally we're both doctoral students. We're both entrepreneurs, and it's the same thing. So I don't have an answer for it, but what I can tell you is that I'm not in a place to settle. Like I said, I've worked too hard to get what I'm getting and pushing to gain so much more. But you do want a companion to come along with you to support you so you can support them. But I feel, and I'm in South Florida, so that's a whole different situation, that not too many people, unfortunately, Black, white, Indian, African, are not looking for people like me. Mm-hmm. I've dated African men that have told me that their mother would prefer a white woman.
What, African men?
African men have told me that. Yes. Wow. So I'm like, okay, now I really can't win. If your mama told you that, and this beautiful queen, got all this, she's dressed, honey, and she told you that? Well, I'm done. Like, I don't know this.
It's the craziest and the saddest thing. And then, people will be like, and this will kill me. First of all, you met your husband in college, so you can't even speak to what's going on right now. Okay, that's number one. And just for the tribe that feels, discouraged, we feel you. We are sitting in the chair with you. But I do ask that you don't lose hope. Like don't lose hope, because if it's meant to be, it shall come, just like everything else. When it comes, we don't know, because we wondering ourselves.
Lord, hear our prayer, Lord. We talking to you.
Literally. Hello. So how have you been able to keep your hope?
Yeah. I have moments.
Yeah.
And I'll be transparent. I have a nephew. He just turned 1 in August, and he is the light of the family. He's the first of everything. Grandson, nephew, great-grandchild. So he's everything. And so I find my moments saying, well, maybe I'm just supposed to be the most amazing aunt in the world. Like, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'm supposed to just serve these student athletes in the capacity that I am and so much more. But then I have to kind of peel that back and say, I don't know what God has planned for me. Why, so you can't get comfortable in those positions, but I would be a liar to say that I don't have those thoughts and those swings, right? Yep. And I'm like, I don't know. And now with the pandemic, it is so much harder to meet people, to know that people are who they say they are. So you can't lose hope. But I think if you realize that God has a purpose for you, that, for me, I think a lot of times it can be the trick of the enemy, to point out everything that you don't have, and you forget what you do have. And so I think that is what's allowed me to keep the hope that I'm healthy, that my family is healthy, that I can pay my bills, right? That all of that. You're people that don't have internet right now, people that don't have phones right now, people who have lost their cars, their houses, and loved ones. So I have to step back and say, let's count these blessings and let God continue to do the work that he's doing. And I think that is a constant narrative that I have to have with myself. Remember your blessings, remember your blessings. And when I do that, it pulls me back in, but you can't allow yourself to go so deep down that hole. And I'll put on my social work hat, is we call it protective factors. You have to have coping skills, coping mechanisms, going back to having your tribe, so that when you get in those moments, you can talk to people. You have something else to pull from, because it's when you're by yourself, those thoughts get heavy. And for some of us, they can be darker thoughts, right? And it's harder to get out of those. And it's a real thing. Mental health is a real thing. Suicidal thoughts are a real thing, especially in the Black community. Salute to Taraji Henson and all that she's doing, because those conversations have to be had about what it is to be a Black woman, taking off this cape. Do not call, even though I am a strong Black woman, unfortunately, those on the outside of our community, it holds a different power. It has a different meaning. I always talk about Black girl magic. I think it's amazing, but you have to be careful, because outside of our community, it means something different. It means that we push through no matter what, that we're strong no matter what, that you can give me everything and I'm not going to say no because I can make it happen. Well, what happens to you? And that was my journey. I was doing everything and above, and no one else was being expected to do the same thing, but they knew it would always be perfect if they gave it to me, no matter what. And so it just gets to the point, you can't lose yourself in this. So when we're talking about dating and relationships and having hope, you can't lose yourself in it, because that's just a piece of your journey, but that's not your identity. And I think that's what we look for, that we think being in a relationship, having kids, that's who we are. For some women, that is. I didn't grow up dreaming about a wedding. I didn't grow up dreaming about this huge house and cars. Like, that just wasn't that's not who I am, right? But then when you get older, you were like, well, I don't necessarily know what I want the house to look like or who would be at the wedding, but I would like the opportunity to accept or decline. So when you don't get that, you're like, so Control Alt Delete. We're going to reset this, Lord, and we're going to try again. But just remember that it's not all of you, and that your life isn't measured or considered failure if that's not a part of it. And I think that's where it gets hard. And I can speak specifically for Black women, for myself and those that I've talked to.
That's so good. And that is so true. Okay. So what would you say to women who are like, okay, I want to date, I want to, put myself out there. Would you ever do online dating? Do you suggest it? What would you say from that aspect?
So I have tried it. I ain't like it. I'm still single. But I mean, it works for some people, but for me, I think being in the field of social work and working in these hospitals, honey, and seeing what folks do and what they about and people scamming, talking about I'm a prince in Nigeria. I just need $2,000. Can you help me out? I ain't got time for it. I don't. So I can't do it. I need to see you. I need to talk to you. I need to make sure you brush your teeth. Okay. I need to make sure this is a good situation. So it's not for me, but I have heard great stories where people are together, people that I know. So I just don't think that's my testimony. So I just got to be strong and hope that it will happen organically. But I say, I'm okay with trying stuff, but you don't waste your time and don't waste your money. If you know that you are somewhat guarded and protected, which is not always a bad thing, then dating online may not be for you. And I think it becomes dangerous. I think it becomes dangerous for you that, you're on edge and then you're like, well, maybe I'm too scared. And you find yourself in a situation you shouldn't have been in because you didn't pay attention to what your gut was telling you or what God was telling you. And so that's where I say you got to be careful. So for some it works, but it's just something about paying for my relationship that kind of, stresses me out a little bit. No shade to nobody out there. No shade to y'all. But
I hate it. I hate it. Like mad, irritated. Like, and I'll sign up for like a month and I'll shut it down in like 2 weeks. Like, I'm so mad.
Like, it's too much. It's like literally scrolling through Instagram. And I was like, Lord, and I'm, again, for some people it works, but for me, I'm like, has it come to this? Well, I really got to work to find somebody that might be interested in me for $79.99 and I don't get my money back and I didn't get a dinner. What? No, it ain't gonna work. So I don't know. I haven't figured. I can't do that.
And it was okay. So this is what I hired a dating coach early last year, Mecca and Aldewan Tart, great couple in Atlanta. Uh-huh. And they were like, since you're social, when the world opens back up, if the world opens back up,
right.
Put yourself in rooms where the majority is men. If you're a speaker, since you're speaking, go and, be right in a room full of men, or volunteer for male events. So you are the minority and they're the majority, and you're just in the room signing them up. I'm like, okay, Paul, you're next. John, you're next. Like, I can't wait to implement that strategy. Girl, I'm going to be signing in all the kids. Like,
yes, that's a good one. And, I think I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. You do have to put yourself in the space. Mm-hmm. And, for me, I'm not one, like I've had friends that are okay with going out to a bar and sitting by themselves or going to a karaoke. People, I can't do that. I just can't go out here willy-nilly and I can't do it. But I do think with networking, that has, even though I obviously haven't been successful with it, but I can say that can be a better space to at least see people have conversations, how they carry themselves, and let things happen organically. So I love that idea. I think it's great. I will say that has allowed me to have more conversations, but we still working on it. But no, I think that's a great idea. I've heard that before. I can't say that I've implemented it to a T because most of the things I do are work related, but I think it's also what you're going out. So what I would want, what you can ask the dating coach for me, honey, is that professional line, right? Because when I go into these spaces, a lot of time it's work, I'm presenting or I'm networking for business. And I'm not a fan of mixing work with personal. So that's where it becomes challenging for me. So I don't know.
It's funny. Okay, so she came on the podcast also. So she said how her and him met was because she was putting together a panel of men and he was going to speak at her event.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he approached her. She was like, it was professional. I thought he was attractive, but I was totally trying to keep professional.
Right.
And they had a meeting and he was like, when you gonna let me take you out? She was like, who, me? Like, you wanna take me out? it was none, it was no plot twist, to whatever. So,
but I guess I'm old school in that regard. That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly.
I am looking for someone to be comfortable, to be willing to approach you. I'm not going to name no names because I might meet them one day, but I'm not proposing to nobody. So if you can't at least say hello, how you doing? Would you like to go out for dinner? And there's a lot of folks, in our generation that say, no, you got to go for it. And I'm just unfortunately like, I don't have that energy, honey. I don't have the energy.
Not my ministry. And listen, I understand. Okay, let's do some rapid soul care questions while I still have you.
All right.
What is a healthy outlet that you turn to?
Ooh, well, I love music. So I'm a huge Beyonce fan. I got to meet her one day. So B, if you see this, let me know, girl. Okay. We've been down since 6th grade, but I love music. And honestly, I just love going outside. Like that is my thing. If I can just get outside, even if I'm not running because of the way my knees are set up, if I can just get outside and put my headphones on, honestly, that is simple enough for me. I don't need a lot of noise. I through life, I've had a huge circle and all of that, but I've changed. I need that moment of silence and just an escape. That's how I pull myself back together. And then I can let people come back in.
I love that. Yes. Sounds like you like an ambivert. Are you an ambivert?
I think so.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
And that's very new for me because I was extreme extrovert.
Yes.
I'm like, nah, I'm in the middle, child.
Yeah. And it's weird. I'm like, is this age? Is this almost degree? Like, what is this personality? Because it's interesting. It's very interesting. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I am at this point.
Yeah, I think it's wisdom, child. I think it's
I'll take that.
What's the last song you listened to?
Oh, the last song I listened to, what I listened to today. Oh, I think it was a gospel song. Hold please, because I'm going to tell you, I don't tell no stories. Let me pull up because I am an Apple Music kind of girl. First song playing is loading. It wasn't. It was Jasmine Sullivan.
Okay, Jasmine. Which one? The new one?
Yes. Don't tell me the word, but the one with the twist in the hair, the new single.
Exactly.
Girl, I don't know all the words yet, but that right there.
Yes, Jasmine. Listen, I can sing. Listen. Okay, so what trait do you like about yourself the most?
Ooh, that is hard. Like characteristic trait?
Yeah, anything you like about yourself the most. Or physical.
I like my ability to adapt. I feel like you can literally put me anywhere with anybody, talk about anything, and I'm going to make it work. And I think that's because I'm a military kid. So I had to do that my entire life. But I think that's a huge positive trait that I have. It works no matter where you are. So I think my ability to adapt is a good trait.
That's good. If you could go to dinner with anyone, passed away or still alive, who would it be?
Ooh, this is good. Passed away or still alive? Look, my mind is going deep, honey. Who would I want to meet with? Honestly, I would want to meet with Wilma Rudolph. I would want to sit down, all the research I'm learning about Black female athletes and what they went through at that time. I wanted the conversation she had with Muhammad Ali. Like, why did she keep going? Like, how did she feel knowing that she was doing advocacy and activism, but nobody was really talking about her? You know what I'm saying? So that's who I would want to sit down and talk to, what that experience was like.
That's dope. Mm-hmm. And one book you believe everyone should read.
Oh, okay. So if you're not into sports, you probably wouldn't think about it. But as a Black person in America, The $40 Million Slave by Bill Rhoden, it is mind-blowing. It captures Black history, American history, and it dissects how all of these platforms of sports is intentional. It's a path, and it will reshape the way that we think and how we involve ourselves with things, or how we should speak up more about it. So I would say $40 Million Slave has changed my life. There was stuff I learned about my home state of Kentucky that I had no clue. I said, this is a shame. This is a shame. I didn't know this and this is where I'm from. But that would be, that's a big book for me. I think that's just because of the path that I'm on. But my first like major book I read was Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So that's it too.
Thank you so much, Marley, for coming on. I mean, nuggets, wisdom, truth, just your personality shining through, you being 100 with us. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Keep doing the work that you're doing. And everything you said to me is your personality. Like, I love what you're doing, the success you're having, and just keep it up. And hopefully we work again in the future.
I know. So how can we support you as a tribe? Do you have anything coming up? You're looking to get more clients? What's going on?
Absolutely. So again, my company is called the BFCA Experience. It stands for Black Female Collegiate Athlete. And what that basically means is that everything that I do comes from that chapter of my life. So coming into my womanhood, understanding who I am as far as identity of race. But I work with all athletes. But we are launching a lot of events. We have an event coming up starting January 16th. It's called Volleyball Sisters. So I play volleyball in college. And I'm trying to build a community. And it's for all volleyball players, but you have to be 18 and older, because we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about leadership, networking, and I'm just excited where this is going to go. We're going to have other ages that we're going to work with in the future. So check out my website. It's my name, MarleneHolmes.com, and you can see all the services we provide, whether it's speaking engagement, curriculum development. So do a lot of work, whether it's personalizing workshops, coming in, talking to players, again, self-care, education spaces. So it's a lot of things that we're doing. And I also have the podcast. It's called Yep, She Said It Podcast. And so we are going into, I think, our 6th season. And I interview a lot of former athletes, current athletes, and entrepreneurs that have somehow, similar to you, discovered their journey and their purpose. And I just want to know how they got there to encourage and support others. But everything is literally on my website, my YouTube channel. Please go and subscribe, because the way, I'm like, how do you get these people to subscribe? But everything is on my website. Feel free to email me at bfcateam@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at _BFCA_experience. I'll follow you back. As long as you got some sense, I'll follow you back.
Tell the truth. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you again. Bye, everyone.
Make sure you all share this episode with your closest friend. Leave a review and also rate this episode 5 stars if you enjoyed it. And we might have to have her back, honey. I will see you all on the next episode of the Soulkation Podcast.
My hope is that your soul just went on a vacay and you have tools that you can apply to your life today. For more in-depth tools, head on over to LoganRenee.com. Also, if you have questions that weren't answered on this episode, email your questions to Logan@LoganRenee.com and I'll answer them here on the show. I'll talk to you soon.